2023 meeting of the Planning and Community Committee of Woodley Town Council. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recordings streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. So by virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, please do not stay for the meeting. Everybody's staying, okay? The Town Council is consulted by Wokingham Borough Council on planning applications within Woodley, but the final decision of approved or refused is taken by Wokingham Borough Council. We will notify Wokingham Borough Council of any committee's views, which may include any comments and concerns expressed by members of the community affected by the application. But if anyone has any comments to make on any of the planning applications, then you need to formally write or send an email to the Wokingham Borough Council Planning Department, as they will take the final decision on the application. Just a bit of housekeeping for those in attendance. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm does go, please leave the room as quickly as you can and assemble in the fire assembly point, which is in the front of Woodford Park. Thank you. Any questions? No? Right, let's get on to the agenda. First of all, do we have any apologies, Matthew?
Yes, we've had one apology from Councillor Soane.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. No declarations of interest? Good, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda then is the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 1st of November, which is on page 5 of your agenda. Has anybody got any comments to raise on that? Are we happy to accept them? Anybody to accept them, please? Okay, thank you. And we have another Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 29th of November, which is page 15. Again, any questions on those? Can I ask people to accept those meeting minutes, please? Yes, thank you. Move on then to the current planning applications, which start on page 23 of your agenda. We're going to take these slightly out of order because I believe some people here would like to discuss one or two of the applications we've got. The first one I have here is 223639, which relates to tennis courts at Silver Fox Crescent. The application is for the proposed erection of 4 self-built 3-bedroom detached dwellings with associated parking and landscaping. We've looked at this and we've really commented on there are 4 new chalet bungalow style buildings. There are a number of comments from residents who are not too impressed with some of the designs. I think they're concerned about overdevelopment, and they're also concerned with regards to access. So anybody here like to ask questions? Anybody here like to say anything about the application? Yes.
I'm the applicant. If I could just read something out regarding my application.
Sorry, can you just say what your name is?
My name is Adrian Hawley.
Right, okay, Adrian.
I'm a Woodley resident and the new owner of the tennis courts and access road. I do not wish to engage in debate over individuals' personal opinions of what should happen to the site. However, due to a number of vociferous campaigns on social media by a neighbouring resident giving false and misleading information about myself, I am willing to answer any questions in the division. This meeting is, however, to discuss whether my application meets planning policy. My original application was to be the 3-number large chalet style bungalow. Following consultation with my tenants, it was decided 4-number low-rise range would be more suitable in keeping surrounding. I have the original plans for the 3-number large chalet style properties. If anyone would like to view them, I can send them on by request. Following the vociferous campaigns, I was advised not to engage and not to circulate the new design, but just to submit the new application. The new application is for 4-number bungalow style properties with 2 rooms using various windows in the roof. These windows have been specifically designed and positioned to avoid any view into neighbouring properties. The cross-section drawing shows their position alongside the person. Their head height would mean a line of sight into the sky above any neighbouring property. In any case, the design is within planning policy with the regulation distance between property windows being met. The property such a big building is an eco-friendly and sustainable method of building methods, creating high-quality houses that are extremely energy efficient. There is a huge need for single-storey living in this area. These properties are ideally designed with adaptability for that. As new builds, they can be easily adapted to meet the needs of the elderly or disabled, with flexibility of both. I purchased this block because I also wish to live here with my family, eventually retire here and wish to get on with all my neighbours. There has been a lot of talk about how I have destroyed the land, vegetation, and water. What I have done is remove the old decaying chain link fences with forks, clear brambles and deadwood, which will create a fire hazard and clear plenty of household rubbish dumped on the site by surrounding neighbours. The site was formerly tennis courts. I've yet to find a tennis court that has trees growing in the middle of it. Yes, there used to be some substantial trees on the boundaries. These were cut down many years ago by the previous owners. On clearing the debris, no evidence of any wildlife was found. A large pile of previously cleared debris was left in the centre of the site. This was moved by hand, and the only creatures found were 3 frogs, a field mouse, and a number of snails, all of which were carefully moved and resited. As the new landowner, I have a duty of care to keep the site safe. On clearing the area where the old pavilion used to be, I found a live incoming electric main left in a broken fuse carrier. If anyone had touched this, they could have received a potentially lethal shock. I have since had SSE make this safe. If this is classed as destroying the land, then I make no apologies for that. Full ecological survey has been undertaken and the report is enclosed with the application, as is a full agricultural survey. A lot of residents have voiced their opinion that green space and wildlife will be lost if this development goes ahead. If this is truly their feelings, perhaps they should consider what will happen if Woking District don't achieve their housing quota. They have just lost an appeal against the massive site in December. This leaves them woefully short of their 5-year land supply. This means they are now forced to approve applications for green belt land. That will definitely mean huge losses to green space and wildlife, etc. Surely, if these reasons for objections are genuine, then common sense and a look at the bigger picture should say, use this empty space for housing and retain as much truly green space as possible. Or are these objections more a case of not in my backyard? Further objections have been raised with regard to traffic and parking. The site itself will be fully self-contained and the application meets all relevant planning policies. There's been a highways assessment undertaken by a respected qualified highways consultant proving the pit's liability. As stated, the application meets all planning policies required and provides much needed versatile housing for the community on an unutilised site, not to mention a home for myself and my family. Many of the local residents have requested that this land be used for the community. This land has always been and is still privately owned. The local residents would like to purchase from myself. I'm happy to listen to their offers. I've received a number of substantial offers from various associations and communities. Should my application be rejected, I will be forced to go to appeal. If this be unsuccessful, I will be forced to sell to whoever makes the highest offer.
It's okay, can we
Sorry?
can just ask you to sum up, please?
Yes, I just finishing now. As stated, this application meets all required planning policies, and I would urge Woodley Town Council to recommend approval for this unutilised site. He said it's designated much needed housing, helping to contribute to Woking District Council's housing quota and the saving of locally truly green spaces.
Okay, anybody else like to say anything about the application? Yes,
Yeah, I think I can
just say who you are.
Matthew Harper, and I live in the house 30 Silver Fox. But another guy that was going to attend, I've got a video of him giving a bit of an objection, which he's not here today, but he lives the opposite side. His name's Christopher Moon, but I think that the most, we are emotional beings, and it is a green space that's being lost. We will have to look at it. Everyone I spoke to around tennis courts didn't want it. We live there. It's a shame we have got backyard development that's come in. Obviously, we moved in and thought it was going to be recreational land because it did seem to be that case, and it might have been put back to some sort of recreational use, bird watching area or something like that. But our main concerns are traffic flow and the width of the access with a pedestrian path. Because if currently you've got 4.7 metres of the access, if you put a pedestrian path in, because it's quite a distance to walk down, that students that becomes single file. So once the car comes out and one comes in, then one's going to back out onto the road or back in. We just don't think it's safe. And with Manifold Law, we've got a TP1 access out of the gate now, and we've got a 20-year-old boy in our garden with that traffic just literally going right past our fences. So we're not quite happy about that. For obvious reasons, and his room's just above where the road would be. Also, I don't know what would happen to party walks, but that's something else to look at. The bins are another issue. At the moment, the roads are full of bins, and there'll be 4 bins per household minimum. Well, Christmas is a nightmare, and they'll have to put them on the path or outside our house. So if you look at the access where our boundaries and the tennis courts, he's used old pictures. I don't know why, not use current ones, because it makes it look worse than it is. And the site was of ecological value because it had blue jays and there was pine trees growing in there. It's beautiful. I've got photos. So if I need to email them to anywhere, slow worms, we've got videos of hedgehogs, there's foxes, which he has been good about. He hasn't dug them out. They're due to breed in February. So that's a bit of a concern. So we're killing the planet. If anyone likes David Attenborough, I think we should save it for something good.
Well, that's it, yeah, I
15
mean-
minutes into his government.
I mean, he's done a preliminary assessment, hasn't he, of the site with regards to.
Oh, right, yeah, I'd like to ask you about that, because I think the ecological survey is not what it seems. And I'd like to draw your attention to the Highways Planning Limited part of this. And I'd just like to sort of ask, is this an official highways planning document? If so, have you got the reference number? And can you please note the reference number of this highways planning document? If it's an official document in the meeting, is that an official highways planning document?
That is part of the application.
Right, sure.
So it's an official highways consultants appraisal of the site in with the application.
Okay, so do you have the document reference number or this? I don't know. Can you just look in? I'd just like to.
Also, that diagram, sorry to interrupt, that you just had up of the
Buildings.
the HGV vehicle or fire engine, whatever it's meant to be, turning in, has not taken into consideration any parked cars, and there's lots of comments on this proposal have explained. Our street is 99% completely parked on. Even residents have to park in nearby streets if they haven't got enough room on their driveway. So I think that that's an unfair illustration that hasn't taken in the full picture into consideration.
Yeah, I would just like to question that and the ecological survey. It was beautiful. He bought this land and he can do what he wants with it because he bought it, but he bulldozed it and then took photos and said, this is what it looks like now. And it wasn't, it was a bit of a hoodwink, or, you know, that's pulled all over the eyes. And we have to now look at Digitract. It will grow back, and I think it should grow back. So,
Okay,
Was the ecological survey carried out before the trees and other things were cut down? So
no,
Yes,
yes,
Lots
fine.
of silver birches,
Yes, we know.
they were able.
Yeah, they were.
Can I make a further comment about the parking on the road, Chris?
I think you've had some
Okay.
quite a bit of time, and we don't normally come back and ask people to speak again.
November 22.
So November 22 was the date of the, it's a preliminary ecological appraisal is what it's called. So it's not a full survey. And it was done in November. So is there anybody else who would like to make any comments, please, before we go back into committee?
I just have a question. I don't know if anybody could answer, but it's with regards to the party wall situation. I've tried to research, but can't find the information. So the road, as far as the planning shows, will be completely against our house wall. Now, is there some sort of safety distance that there should be?
Safety distance, you also have to drop a line down. I'm not sure what the angle is. And if the line dropping down an angle that interferes with part of your property, then it becomes party wall.
Right, okay.
But I'm not an expert, so
You know,
yeah. So you need to.
We'll receive advice on that.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm obviously a friend of Mr. Holloway, so I did go to the site as well to help clear some of the rubbish. I'm quite ecologically minded myself, so I was the one that, you know, with the field mouse ran out, everything stopped till we got there. So, but I have to say, every time I've been there, I don't know how many vehicles you have, but you know, you've got several vehicles parked all along the space yourself.
yeah.
Two commercial vehicles too.
Because they don't come on.
We got asked to
But that's
stop
where we is.
other people going in there and setting
No,
up.
yeah, they're parked on the land that is owned by.
Oh,
It's
of
got-
course.
We're happy to allow it.
But because it's all the way to
Yeah.
gypsies. and
It's not
travelers,
gated, is it? I don't think.
No, it's not.
So we said
No,
that.
I think the
before we
residents
purchased
have always
the
done.
land,
Yeah,
we had an agreement with the residents of the streets that we had a vehicle or trailer parked there,
Stop people
stop people
accessing. So
accessing.
that's
Right.
all, that's the reason I do it.
That was the reason. And when we started with purchase land, we explained that to him, and he said,
I
no
don't know,
problem
yeah,
at all.
police park there.
We had text messages from him,
And I'll
saying,
move this
please
to you,
park there.
I'm.
So-
exactly, but I just wonder, one, for 10 years, this land has been barren, and when you say a green space, it's been barren. I mean, when I went there, there was a- well, when I went there, there was an old fridge there, you know, it was.
That was.
Okay, can we, sorry. Do need to draw this to a conclusion.
It could, but then, who's gonna pay for that? If you all wanted it, up in and buy it.
Well, we tried, we actually were ready at
We
auction
wanted to
to
buy our land
buy,
back,
to start by buying our land back.
because it was a backyard land grab.
And Mr. Holloway paid the guy off before it went to auction, so we had.
Okay, so sorry, that's, we're not getting involved in that. It's a planning meeting and so I'd like now to just pull this back into committee, please, to see what the committee's views are. Yes, Carol.
Yeah, I think, as is the way with that land development, the issue is with the impact on the existing residents and the access. And I think for me, I think the design, talking about low level and everything else, something has been, there's obviously consideration of the impact on the neighbours. And in any other backland development, that would be great, because so often we're faced with, two-storey houses, the usual houses overlooking, etc. I am concerned about the access. There's an existing access, but before it was for the tennis club. And actually that would have meant far more traffic probably than what the residential use will be. But you knew when that was going to happen, it was going to be weekend traffic, etc. I also take account of the fact that parked cars in Silver Fox Crescent, and I know there are a lot of them, is going to cause issues turning in. But I just know the Highways Authority probably won't see an issue with this. We have this discussion time and time again saying this isn't safe. It does seem incredibly narrow. And I'd like to be assured that 2 vehicles can pass on that. And I don't know whether they allow the owner to answer that, whether or not 2 cars could pass on the access road.
We can ask the owner.
The highways consultant, who is the expert on this, has gone through it, it's in the report, and it shows that the access is passable.
It's not answering the question of whether or not 2 cars can go right next to
It
each
doesn't
other.
account for pedestrians either. No.
But there is, pedestrians can walk down there, you only need single access over that bridge.
Yeah.
But you could have a pedestrian and 2 cars all going down to.
No, you only
together.
need access for 1 vehicle.
That's what I thought, yeah. So that is, I have a real issue with that because, if 2 cars meet up, they can't reverse out, they're going to reverse back into the road. It's not ideal at all, unless there's some sort of turning circle. But even so, if the 2 cars meet. So my biggest concern is that access road.
And also, what about emergency vehicles going down there? Now, that's a worry if they, you know.
That is shown in the highways plan. That's what that's for.
So what's our view?
I think,
We're concerned about access.
yeah, my only thing is around access. And I think as we've discussed before, there's a degree of, we need to let the working officers make that judgment with the information they're given. I think I hear the residents' views, and I don't think we can object or would object to building on that site as a rule of thumb. And I think, you know, as Carol pointed out, bungalows are significantly more sympathetic than other things, but I would like us to ask the officers to investigate the access and the effect on parking on Silver Cross Fox Crescent, if indeed that's an issue. And I think I raised a parking concern before, but actually looking at the plans, I think that was a misplaced concern. I think I've got a little twitch about overdevelopment of the site. I think I'm not sure enough to put a formal objection in about it, but I think that's the thing we need to do, is ask the Wokingham planning officers to examine that access and the appropriateness of 4 bungalows in that space, or 4 residences in that space with that access in that location. And that, for me, I think it's a professional opinion rather than a committee opinion.
I have another concern, that the amount of bungalows which are being converted into houses, the danger is you start off with a chalet bungalow, and before you know where you are, you've got people applying for planning permission to actually extend it into a house, and then you end up with 4 houses and not 4 chalet bungalows. That's just the way of the world, unfortunately.
I suppose we could ask for a covenant on that.
Well, that's what I was thinking, yes. Perhaps we should ask for a covenant, yes.
Let me just ask, is there any way for vehicles to turn around? So delivery vehicles coming in, have they got to then reverse all the way back out and back down to?
Yeah, that's all.
If there's another delivery vehicle coming up the lane, you've now got a delivery vehicle reversing out of the lane, or you've got 2 heavy goods delivery vehicles meeting within 60 centimetres of my living room. And it's just idling vehicles where
As you can see, there's really a large roadway through the middle, where more than 2 delivery vehicles.
No, but it
pull
one's
up
coming
and then
out of the
reverse
side
into
and one's coming in.
Okay, so
I think, Mr. Chairman, if
So with-
4 were reduced to 3, I think that would be a much better design, and that would give some more room for parking and traffic as well.
So we're concerned about access. We think a covenant to ensure that the houses in the future cannot be extended to become, sorry, the chalet bungalows can't be extended to become houses as such.
You can't go and remember because they're already shown to be.
Well, yeah, but it's surprising what people are doing with their houses these days. You know, there's one in Sonnet Lane or somewhere. I mean, it's just been gutted and almost rebuilt. So I mean,
Anything is possible.
so I think those probably are our concerns. So we've got no obvious objection to.
I think in principle, we cannot object to that plan because we do not have a right to object to that plan, as the gentleman, has effectively gone through the process and has put in a plan. It's kind of right and proper at this point that it goes to officers for a professional opinion. I think it's our duty to highlight the concerns we've got with it and our recommendations, as you say, about building up. But I don't think we are allowed in this committee, if I'm being truthful, to go beyond that in either direction, really. I think it's going to be a difficult one for the planning officers to go through or not.
So we've got access. We would ask the planning officer to take the comments from the other residents into account, because there's a number of comments already on the website. Seen, and you can certainly read them if you want to. And if you want to raise any concerns yourself, please do so. And those documents will also be shown on the website of Woking, which everybody's got access to. My only other concern will be the covenant to try to make sure the houses don't suddenly build up even higher than they potentially are, Carol.
Yeah, it's a contentious application. I wonder if it's one that should be listed
No reason why
by
not.
the local member.
I list it then, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we'll list it. If we list it, it means that a member of the Borough Council will also go to a planning meeting at Wokingham. And if one or two of the residents would like to go along as well and voice their concerns, and then they would be welcome to do so, but obviously you're going to be time limited. So if anybody would like to do that, then please make themselves known.
Jenny, I don't.
I've just realised I can't list it anymore, I'm not a borough councillor anymore, but I'll get someone to do it, shall I?
It's Beth, really,
So
basically.
it's Beth now, or do you want to ask Beth then?
That be okay?
Yeah.
Do that. Okay. Okay. I think that's a decision. Okay, thank you. Right, so we go back. Were there any other properties, Matthew, anybody wanted to discuss?
No one put in.
The rest of the applications. Can you please?
We need to make ourselves known to you now. Or
Sorry,
you said about making ourselves known to you if you wish to attend following meeting that's working on.
yes, if you can let Matthew know.
No, that'll be for the listing, that'll be on a.
Yes.
If it goes to listing,
Yeah.
if it's successfully listed, then keep an eye on Wokingham and they'll provide information about how you can register an interest to speak. So that'll be through Wokingham.
Thanks.
You don't want to get involved in listing, right?
Did you get that, Matthew, that Beth is going to be able to list it, because I forgot.
Yeah, I don't normally know that in the minutes, it's because it's a
Okay.
decision outside of
Email
the town
back.
council. It's a decision outside of the town council, yeah. Do better the.
I'm just,
Are you able to list whatever the decision is? Because normally you say, I list if it's going to infuse, or I list if.
You have to list it, not in advance, not knowing what the result.
But based on one result, you can't just say.
Said I'm
she
gonna
can find out what's likely to happen. Yeah. They won't list it if there's not a good reason. They're negative, yeah.
Right. Okay, so 222367 then is Library Parade, Crockerwell Road. Full application for the proposed creation of a mixed-use building consisting of retention of the existing 3 retail stores at ground level, the addition of 16 apartments on first, second and third floor levels, which includes the erection of 3 and 4 story extensions with associated car parking, cycle and bin stores. We've had an application for this already, I do believe.
Yeah, we consider this at a meeting in October.
Mm.
They've submitted, I think, 3 slight or the 3 revisions to the 3 drawings, and that's why it's come back around again. But it's the same application; it's not a new
I
application.
think we've got the same objection.
Yeah, I didn't see any material change between any of them that would change.
Development impact.
Yeah.
Impact on the school as well, I think, wasn't there? So can we just repeat what we said? Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to add anything to that?
No, just the same, objections, not enough changes.
Next one is 223324, which is 44 Sunderland Close. Proposed single-story rear extension following demolition of the existing conservatory, 2-story front extension plus 2-story side extension, to include changes to some of the windows. I've said the rear extension replaces the existing conservatory and retains the same footprint. Conversion of the garage, a new garage to the side on existing paved area. It's unclear if this is part of the property or paved communal route land. It'll be on a bend, but is close to the end of the cul-de-sac. And the front extension is to square off the house and remove the existing bay window. But the neighbouring property is not similar, so that shouldn't constitute any problem. So the only concern I saw was actually the position of the new garage and whether or not the house actually owns the paved area of land or whether it's communal land. I don't know.
I didn't think it looked like communal land.
Doesn't look.
I think when you look at the rest,
Comes round the front as well.
Chair.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Alex, you want to say something?
One concern is that the new garage, I measured it off the plan, only seems to be about 2 meters wide. Now that's pretty narrow. I wonder if that's actually practical. I mean, I know my garage is quite old, but it's wider than that. The door, where the door at the garage is, it is a bit wider, but then you'll see on the plan that the garage then narrows. So I don't know how practical the plan as it's been deposited is.
Okay. Any other comments anybody wants to make? Carol?
In relation to Alex's comments, as we know, garages are very rarely used for cars and can be used for anything else. I think it's we should highlight it to in our comments, but I didn't have an objection.
Okay, so we have no objection. However, we're just concerned about the size of the garage, whether it's a practical size. They probably call it bicycle shed, but it's a garage.
Or it's something else. Yeah.
So many people don't use their garages anyway, so.
and there being a home office in a couple of months.
Home offices. Okay, number 3 is 223395, which is 28 Nimrod. Single-storey side extension to form a garage. That's a new garage to be built on the side of this extended property. This appears to be within the owner's land, and there is a footpath alongside. I've had no objections to anybody else. Got any problems on that? Okay. 53 Woodlands Avenue, 223414. This is variations to some of the planning consent already given. Condition 2 refers to approved details to some of the windows and alteration to roof light positions. And condition 3 refers to the external materials, and the variation is to allow changes to the rendering and roof tiles. There is a note in the revised application to say the new materials, although not identified, it suggests the new materials are in character with the neighbouring properties. I got a comment from Carol, no objection, although the colour of the rendering is not clear, maybe grey as everything else is. Will it stand out like the other properties? So our only concern is just making sure
Yeah,
that the finish is complementary to other properties in the area. I mean,
it would have been built in the 50s, those bungalows, isn't it? You can't use the same materials as 70 years ago, can you? Yeah.
they don't do much larger than plaster work these days. Okay. So we've got no concern apart from just making sure the colour is finished. Number 5 is 223458, which is Sonning Golf Club. Access for 54 properties from Duffield Road to take over sort of the existing 83. If you're a golfer, you'll probably know what that is better than I do. But they're also extending practice greens and driving nets.
Simulate.
We've got any comments on that apart from the fact that I'm trying to think what's going to happen to Duffield Road.
Duffield Road is the only thing we've got any right to object to, though, isn't it?
Well, I think it's just going to enhance traffic problems with regards to.
Yeah, but I think it's that access. It's not. It's basically doubling the amount of houses on Duffield Road on a tight junction on a pretty poor quality bit of tarmac. So they might get some Section 106 money to make Duffield Road better, won't they?
That's that. But the also you've got the bridge there with no footpath to the side. So you have all these people who into these houses. who wants to walk down to Woodley or whatever. And it's increasing the number of pedestrians and walk across the bridge. It's got no footpaths. And it's dangerous.
Well, there's a footpath on one side of the bridge.
There's no footpaths.
Down there, no, there isn't.
It's the rickety,
When I
sorry,
was,
Oh, sorry, no, I'm thinking of wrong.
they should jog down there, believe it or not.
No, you're right, sorry.
it's not a town parish council, but some parish council, we're looking at, trying to get a bridge rail, network rail instead of wide footpath, but costly astronomical.
Not going to happen, is it?
I don't like putting their hand in there. We've noticed that elsewhere. Yeah, so our concern really is obviously access and the increased traffic. And yes, you're right, the fact that there is no.
If the transport assessment actually does make quite a lot of there being bus services close on the A4, doesn't it? If I read that right, and not being able to physically walk to that, it's actually quite a big deal, I think, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning because that is a big part of it when it's talking about access and transport. I completely missed that. That was great. But
There's very little bus traffic on the A4.
and there's a few buses a day, isn't there? With
Buses that do go down Western Avenue. Yeah, so they have to cross the bridge.
Yes.
To get to Western Avenue, to go down Western Avenue.
Yeah, is it the 9 or is it 128 something? 128 or something, isn't it? Goes to west.
128, I think.
It's 128.
You're right, 128, yes. Yeah.
And they're not that regular, I don't think.
If you want to catch the bus, it comes up and goes down Buxton Road, and it goes down West Avenue.
That's from the door entrance out onto the A4.
There is that, going that way, yeah.
Also front of Solomon Meadows and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but not if you want to walk down to Woodley. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether the words of today are to say, catch buses and don't use your cars. The truth is, everybody has got a car. So they could be saying, well, we'll leave the road as it is because we don't want you to go out in your car. But the real reality is we do. So it is a valid objection because that road is just too narrow.
Our concerns really are,
To start with, yeah.
increase in traffic and the dangerous, the risk here with another 54 houses and however car movements a day that is.
Want to put it as a recommendation for refusal, yeah.
Yes. But then really it's down to, it's down to something at the end of the day because it's not actually in our parish. It's just the concerns we have.
Consulted on it.
Yeah.
Committee can make a comment as they wish.
Yeah,
not a minor development, is it?
absolutely. No, it's not.
Does it also depend what they do at the front of the law, where they've got these reapplication into the care?
Yeah, it's true.
Yes. There'll be much left of the gold, not the way they're going, isn't it? To me, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
I suppose they've got to pay for it some way before they get their money back. Okay, so let's 223486, which is 65 Norton Road, loft conversion to the original roof comprising flat roof, rear dormer. I've said this is moving from 4 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, 2 new in the loft area with the flat rear dormer. Retains 3 of the current 4 at the first floor. There's only 3 parking spaces and it's a small semi for such a major alteration. I've got comments. Carol says it's a large change but confined to the roof, parking an issue. It says parking concerns but nothing more. Has anybody got anything to say apart from the parking problem? I think they've got any objection in principle. That is just concerns about the amount of parking availability. 223526, 12 Master Close. Proposed erection of a rear flat roof dormer extension with the addition of 2 roof lights, loft conversion with the flat dormer to the rear, new ensuite to the new 4th bedroom. Again, maybe a parking issue.
Similar to the
I
one.
would suggest that as it is a loft conversion, no extra parking provision is required and only parking concerns, space for 3 cars for 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think, 3 cars, 4 bedrooms, that kind of couldn't. I think that was based on me going, I bet you get 3 cars in there. But Yeah, I could,
So we happy with that one?
yeah, something upset about doors.
Number 8 is 223537, which is 44 Tiffin. Single story rear extension. Removal of the existing rear conservatory and replacement with the full width extension. I don't think anybody's raised any concern or comments on that. No objection is what I've got. So unless anybody wants to ask any questions or anything, then I think we're happy with that one.
Yeah.
223555 24 Wyndham Crescent. Single story rear extension, partial garage conversion. I said a large rear extension to square off the rear of the property, conversion of the garage into a cycle store, utility and cloakroom. One comment from the neighbour regarding height of roof causing shadows to their property. I've got a comment from Carol which says single story proposed so roof of height should not be an issue, and Richard says there's no objection. So all I would say is can they just take the neighbours' comments into account and put the planning, please. 223566 59 Crockenwell Road. Application for removal of the existing roof and erection of 2 additional stories to 9 dwellings, together with associated external alterations. This adds 9 dwellings and removes 2 car parking spaces already used by existing occupiers. Adds 2 new stories and increases the height over the Robert Dias block. So, all they want to do is to build skyscrapers in the middle of Woodley.
It's the loss of the car parking that's already is in existing use is the problem.
Yes.
Seems to be squeezing a lot of properties in that, a lot of dwellings in that 9. And some of them are quite small,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yeah.
The windows, there were too many windows. They have to keep in with all of the rest of it, I think. It's kind of just hit me.
I think they were just relying on the bus services, aren't they? By saying, well, you don't need a car, you don't need a garage.
I expect it's, I mean, I think that's one of the things, I mean, when I was looking at this initially, oh, but I did think, well, actually, we don't see a lot of applications for small properties in, I don't want to say gap fill locations, but if you're a first time buyer and you're 20 something, maybe that's okay. I mean, I didn't think, again, similarly, I put up there parking and access concerns. I did worry slightly about the amount of cars that potentially battling for space that is not monitored. But I suppose if you get another mortgage, you can get an annual season ticket for the Headley Road car park.
I don't know, you've got an awful lot of money.
It'll probably be the same as the council tax. Actually. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But I kind of, yeah, I thought it was right. Got to be honest. I don't think it's one of those few occasions where I don't think parking is a big issue because there are alternatives.
Okay, so we happy?
I think we might mention parking, but
So we're happy to accept that, but subject to parking, yeah. Especially the loss of existing parking.
That's the issue.
yeah.
We're encouraging new people not to have cars, but people have already got cars.
Maybe they can put some cycle storage in there.
Okay, so the next one is 2235H2, which is 71 Wilson Drive, a single story outbuilding. Proposed outbuilding to be situated at the rear of the existing garden, comprising a gym, office and WC. This backs up to woodland with no obvious gap. Did have a question, and I've raised this before. I think that if it's woodlands, then there should be a gap of at least 3 meters between the woodland and any new build. And I've said danger, it may interfere with the local environment. Janet's got a hand up.
I understood, because we've had a cabin built like that, and we were required to bring it forward by at least 1 metre because of getting access to the back of it, should you need to repair something or paint it. So that is a bit tight up against the rear fence. I'm surprised that they didn't, that they did a plan like that, to be honest. I thought that was common knowledge.
Yes, but there was the application, the one near the ancient woodland, wasn't there? And,
Yeah.
Note came back from
There's plenty of room
there
there.
must be a 3 metre gap.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not suggesting this is ancient woodland, but I don't know, maybe it is.
even a gap, but there's plenty of room if that's the proportions are right on that drawing, for it to come forward a little bit.
So I've got comment, proximity to Vauxhall open space should be considered impact on the environment. Assuming it backs onto the park, I'm okay with this, but a usual stipulation to prevent a self-contained flat being created.
I just, again, that was more to do with you can access that without going through the house. It has clearly got plumbing and electric in it, because it's got a shower room,
Yes.
in this day and age.
So
I can't remember what the term is we use.
It's
Ancillary service.
ancillary for domestic.
Yeah.
So are we happy with it, or are we just?
I think we should query the gap at the back. I think that's a good shout.
We're happy. However, yeah, we think position should be further from the rear. The rear fence. Okay, 223611 and is 86 Austin Road. Single story front extension. Adding a small porch to the existing front door only to bring the front level with the front garage. Other houses in the area have extended in a similar fashion. Nobody else has made any comment. Are we happy with that one? Good. 223641, 4A Coleman's-Moor Road, first floor extension, replacement roof. Excuse me. Several comments from local residents about overlooking and overbearing. This is an extension to a back garden development, moving from a small bungalow to a two-story house, moving from a one-bed building to a three-bed building. We've got comments here. Carol says piecemeal backland development out of character, inadequate parking, previous application refused, which I think it is possible over development and overbearing. It is a very small, sorry, it's a small plot and by design a small property.
I didn't like it. I'd like to refuse that one. Carol,
It applied for a certificate of lawful use back in 2000 and the early 2000s. And that was given, that was agreed. So this sort of garage type building then became almost a bed sit. I mean, it is just garage to it. And it was because it would be given that certificate of lawful use that they couldn't refuse it being changed into a proper dwelling, which is what it is at the moment, single story blocks. I don't think it will impact, the new proposal will impact the new houses in Loddon Gardens because it's not high enough, but it's already the idea of putting a proper house, if you like, on that site has already been refused. And that was in the appraisal for application number F 2004-3021. And the reasons for refusal I've just taken exactly from this appraisal, which the officer provided. And that was refused permission on grounds it would be piecemeal backland development, out of character, no private amenity space, access unsuitable due to widths in construction, additional turning movements at junction and inadequate parking. So there's an awful lot, there's nothing going for it. But I think if we can turn it around and use the reasons for refusal already given, and I'll pass that down to those words.
Let's type in there, mate.
Quite happy with that.
It saves me a bit of digging anyway.
Because it's just like a matchbox.
It took me a while to pick.
It's hard to find those.
So I'd recommend refusal.
Anybody got any objections to that? No, I'm happy with that. 223682, 34 Hawthorne Crescent. A garden outbuilding to be used as a home office, hobby room, a retrospective, 3 meters by 2.5 meters, wooden garden workshop set up as a home office stroke hobby, much reduced amenity site despite being a retrospective. I think this is okay. I don't recall there being any facilities in there apart from electricity. It was just a room.
It's a home office. I think it's already there, isn't it?
It's already there, but I think the plan I saw, there was no water running to it, so it's not as if they could use it as an ancillary.
We might put that in as a habitual statement.
I think if we could put up the block plan and just to illustrate my concerns is that they are small gardens already there within the 10 square meters and probably right on the cusp of 10 square meters. That is the design, but putting this building in outbuilding or whatever. It's the next one with the new one on it. Yeah, I thought there was a better one. Yeah, I suppose it is. I just felt it doesn't leave an awful lot. You can see how small those gardens are. And they've already got the garage. It's like the garage is detached and pushed back. Even less garden, which might be all right for them, but it's not within the design guidelines. And for the next person, that is not really adequate. And they could put that little blob at the back of the existing blob, which is, it's all technical, that is, behind what I think is their garage there. So,
I think from what I saw, this is just a modular building they've literally brought together as a Meccano kit and just put it up.
I think
A bit like a big shed, crudely speaking.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure if it was 100 centimetres shorter, they wouldn't have needed to get planning permission for it at all, would they? It was literally a height of the apex. They're not apex. It's Pendrick, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not hung up on that. I just wanted to point out amenity spaces. A little bit.
Was this the one that it was a Costco? Was this the Costco one? I think this was a Costco one. Costco.
No, that's a bit further down. So that's the full width across the.
Okay, so
It will be used as personal home office or as office for like outsiders will come?
no, it's not. It's not suitable for that. It's,
Well, why don't we put our ancillary staying
yeah,
method? I think we should just always do that when we get an outbuilding like that to prevent it turning into a rented office space. You're right. That'd be out of character Hawthorne present, wouldn't it? If became Regis Centre.
yeah, 223684, there's 28 Bruce Road. Single-storey front extension to form a porch, two-storey side and single-storey rear following demolition of the existing porch and garage, modifications to the existing front driveway and widening of the dropped curb. I've said it's a new small front entrance porch to replace existing, two-storey side extension replacing existing garage. Existing garage is linked to number 26. Number 26 has stated no objection on the Wokingham portal. New full width rear extension, one additional bedroom to make a total of 4. Changes to the existing dropped curb, but the drive should have sufficient length for 2 vehicles. Those are my comments. No objection and no comment.
I will confess, Mr. Chair, I may have missed that one.
Yeah.
If you give me a moment, I'd quite like to have a quick look at it, so I feel like I've done my job, albeit poorly. Oh no, I did look at it. Sorry, yeah, I have no objection to that.
So we have that one. Okay. 223705, then 15 Dartington Avenue. First floor single-storey side extension, single-storey rear extension, single-storey front extension to the porch, erection of a single-storey extension to the existing outbuilding, home gym to house a WC and a shower room. Certainly requires the comments about living accommodation. Build first floor onto part of existing side elevation, not the full width, to create a new 4th bedroom. Side is onto Oak Way, which is an end semi. This leaves the view to Oak Way still relatively clear, and increase the size of the existing outbuilding with a shower and WC remained. So because of the situation, I don't think there's an issue, but
I think we've had this a few times, haven't we? And this is by far and away the most palatable. I think I had a quick look at the reasons for refusal before, and I think they largely addressed it. I don't want to object to this.
so as long as this building is not potentially being used as a separate unit, and that we've got. Okay. 223729, 7 Sopton Close, garage conversion and a single-storey front extension to a porch. Those convert a garage to a home office and a small extension at the front to form a porch at the entrance. I don't think I've had any other.
Councillor Heath has his hand raised.
Yes, Alex?
Yeah, I'm back now. I lost you for a bit. My only concern is obviously there's losing one parking space, the garage, and then in order to get the 3 spaces, it's going to take out most of the remaining front garden, and it's just, you know, the rear garden isn't that big. Frank, talking about small gardens, the rear garden here is not very big, and now they're just going to concrete over the garden basically to make that 3rd space. But that's my only comment.
Yeah, this seems to be fairly common at the moment. People are sort of paving over or concreting over large areas, large tracts of front gardens and back gardens just for car parking.
There, of course, will be increased flooding as a result of that.
Well, I was going to say, yes, I mean, that's the result, isn't it? That you get more water lying around everywhere, which causes all sorts of damage, or potentially can cause a whole load of damage. But I'm not sure is that a planning issue or is that a building issue?
Building control, really, isn't it? Thanks.
We can certainly,
It might be worth flagging.
show some concern that we're just paving over the environmental areas.
Oh, isn't it?
Okay. Apart from that, I think we're happy with it. And the last one is 42 Western Avenue. Single-story rear extension with existing roof amendments, including 3 roof lights, dormer roof alterations, and garage conversion. I said this is squaring off the rear by extending the current rear extension across the full width. Convert the garage into accommodation. Adequate parking appears to remain. I've had no objections from anybody else. Are we happy with that one? Okay. Super, fine. Okay, so that I think is the end of the applications. So item 6 then is planning and decisions on page 25. So they weren't. So they're quite happy to go ahead with the new building, the Ridgeway, despite the fact we were a bit concerned. Ooh. Surprised me a bit. And 2 Welford Road, erection of an outbuilding in the rear garden park retrospective. I think we just thought that was rather large, didn't we? To enormous amount of the garden, but apart from that, we were in agreement. Item 7, the planning appeal then. One appeal, 101 and 101A, Pound Lane, Sonning. Outline application to erect a 4-story 70-bedroom care home. So that's gone to appeal. So I'm assuming, I mean, that was out of our area, and our only concern at the time, I think, was to do with access, wasn't it?
Mm.
And we rather relied on Sonning to make a decision. Notice the boards are up, though, as if it's going to go ahead. Okay. Moving on then to item 8, which is the revised estimates and the budget estimates for 2022, 23, and 23 and 24. On page 27. So these need to be considered. So we have got request at the moment 48,810. Previous financial year, we allocated 34,800.
Budget was 34,800 as well, wasn't it?
Yes, well, agreed. So last year was 34,800, so Yeah. I think last year there was a little more requested.
I think the consensus from Keith's not online, is he?
He is, yeah.
Keith want to say anything about?
He's not putting his hand up.
Okay, does anybody like to, yes, go on, Karen.
Looking at last year's, we've got comparison, it's on the yellow pages, and all of them were the same, so I felt quite comfortable about that, except for two. One was the First Days Children's Charity, that they were asking for 10,000 instead of the 4,000 last time. And the Keep Mobile, we gave 1,000 to last time, and this time they're wanting 7,485. Now, I wouldn't debate their value to Woodley and to our community, but it is quite a big jump in the times that we're in. We've got to watch expenditure, etc. I always felt the Keep Mobile award was probably a little bit mean at 1,000 because they provide a huge service to combat loneliness, particularly, and you know, taking people out and about. So, and the First Days Children's Charity, they're outlining all the things that they do, which is amazing. But I just think that that is too much of a hike from the 4,000 to 10,000, because we don't know how much the staff are being paid. You know, I've got that sort of information. So you don't know, are they, how frugal are they, or, you know, where is the money being spent? No, we're limited as to what we can say because it's on the yellow sheet. So
I think it's something got 8 staff.
yeah, it's three full-time members, 9 part-time members. So it's very heavily staffed, which presumably with the children involved, that's, you know, that's probably likely. So I think my feeling is that both of those should be increased from what they were before. But I would suggest that the First Aid Children Charity, more reasonable to say double what they had before, which is, I'm only off the top of my head, which is 8,000, and the Keep Mobile to make that more sort of 6,000, so that's a smaller jump, because it looks if we have the budget, because the budget says we've got 48,000, but there's only in the budget as much as we agreed to tonight. So it's not as if we're capped. We've got to cap it ourselves.
I personally think that, you know, the First Aid Charity, whilst it's doing a fine job, even to double it is probably a bit excessive.
Councillor Baker does have his hand up. Yes.
Okay.
I thought that might stir him.
Give him all the money. Yes.
Councillor Baker, would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Oops. Go on. Start. There we go. Yeah. I have great concerns looking at the overall budget. Forget the individual bits and pieces. This is, if we grant every single penny that's being asked here, it's a 40% increase in our annual grants. That's unheard of. And we're in just as tight financial situation as a council as anyone else is. I totally agree. Every single one of these are worthy recipients of grants. So are probably 50 or 60 other charities that have not applied for grants. The actual reality, by the way, I think Carol said only 2 have gone up. It's the wrong way around. Only 2 have remained the same in terms of application, which is Citizens Advice and ARC. All the, sorry, apologies, Carol, if I misheard you. We cannot afford that 40% increase. Unfortunately, we are still the most generous town council from a grants perspective in the borough, significantly. We did raise it slightly, about 1,500 last year. You can see there. I wouldn't, I have a big problem about a 40% increase. How we then divvy up whatever we think the money, the total budget should be, is a different story. And I think what we need to do is set, this is be my approach, to set what is our overall budget and then try and work within that budget to distribute it. I personally, I would leave it as 34,800, but at a push, put it up to 40,000. So that's really, I just wanted to paint that picture before we dived in. Well, that's before potentially we dive into individuals.
Okay. Anybody else like to say anything?
I was going, if I may, I was going to suggest, I promise I haven't spoken to Keith, but I was going to suggest about whether, or sorry, actually I was going to ask the committee if we were able to up it to closer to 40 grand. I think, I mean, looking through them in a way, I was trying to work out who we were helping with our grants, and kind of in a very arbitrary and non-scientific method, I kind of got to the point where we were giving elderly people about 18,000, families about 11,000, and young people about 5,000. I thought, well, I wonder whether or not we should look at it more around how do we need to support our communities during these challenging times. I think my only stipulation, I really don't want to take any money away from any of these charities that, so yeah, I wouldn't suggest cutting anyone's funding, because every one of those is a service for a vulnerable person at the moment. Even the £300 of the Working Volunteer Centre, I suspect, is modest for what they do. But I wondered whether a look at what we're looking to achieve with these grants might be more of a way forward. And I think, you know, just on an individual level, I think First Aid Children's Charity are asking for too much of a jump in that grant. I think Redibus have shown the value this time, which I think we asked them to. I think Matt or Kevin, whoever wrote the briefing paper, was really good at identifying the cost per journey and things like that. So yeah, I think there's definitely an argument to give some more to keep mobile, but I'm kind of minded almost to say, well, those are the two lifts and everything else almost remains the same.
Let's keep mobile very fast at 70, I suppose. Are they in competition first?
They're different market.
They tend to be working centric, whereas Redibus is very much Reading centric.
But I would not advocate 48 grand, I should add. That's not my.
So do we think then we ought to decide how much we're going to allocate overall, and then take a bit of time to decide how that allocation is going to be broken down?
I think it would be better to go with a number that we distribute rather than just pile. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but at least you can then say, we've had this amount of money and we believe this is where the benefit is. At the moment, it feels like a bit of an open checkbook that's governed by guilt rather than accountancy. I don't feel that's the way to go, especially as times ain't going to get any easier.
Because I mean, if you argued that everything's gone up 10%, which we hasn't, I mean, the 35,000 or thereabouts it was last year comes up to about 38.5, doesn't it? So you could argue.
I like a methodology, but I quite like that. I'd support that actually.
I would second that, because I think we should be looking at the reason why we're doing it, not just picking a round figure. So yeah, as a first step, I think setting that budget would be good.
I would vote for that.
Advocate, then we go to what, 38.5?
Yeah, I like that.
Do we need to put that to vote?
You've got to propose
Yeah,
a second.
I'll propose we move up to 38.5. You want to second it?
I'll second that if you like.
Take a vote? Okay.
Now we've got to divvy it out.
So while you've been doing, just to let you know, while you've been doing that, I've just been working out split percentages for each person based on what they got last year and based on what they've requested this year, which are obviously two completely different things. So that if you were saying split 38,500 by the way that the split was last year, I've got those figures now. Or it may reconsider which people get slightly more than they did last year compared to others. So on last year's, if this is helpful, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Councillor Baker has his hand raised, Chair.
Sorry. That's good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was going to suggest, I agree, by the way, with the 38,500. If I could vote, I would have voted for it. The difference then, 38,500 to 34,800 is 3,700. So what I would propose is you've got two, the Sizovites and ARC have asked for what we're suggesting we give them anyway. So I would take them out of the equation because that's what they've asked for and we're giving it them. So they should be happy with that. That means we would have 3,700 extra to distribute across the others, rather than sort of saying, well, this is once 17,000, this one's once this, to actually say it's 3,700 to add to those other ones. So you're doing it that way rather than looking at each individual one. Just a suggestion, Chair.
That sounds reasonable. I think because Wokingham wants so only 500, it's almost worth just giving them their 500. And then you're just left with 3,500. Yes, 3,500 split against the other four as a percentage. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Link Visiting only asked what do you think a percentage against what they've requested rather than
it's either what they've requested or versus.
Yes.
I'm trying to run the algorithm in my head.
I tried to do the math there. Just to try and help. That is based on. I apologise. Based on.
Sorry, do you mind? I've just got to stand up.
You've got 36, you've got 3,700 on 36,000. You only took about 11%. Is that right? Because if you take 12,000 off of 48, which is the two that fixed, you end up with 36.
Chair, could I make a suggestion?
It's about 10%.
Could I make a suggestion, Chair?
He's speaking.
Yes, good.
All right. Following what you've just said, if we agreed Wokingham Volunteer Centre get their extra 200, so that means they would get what they asked for. If we said the same for Link Visiting Scheme, get the 1,500, conveniently, that is 700. So then it means you've got 3,000 to distribute between First Days Charity, Ready Bus, and Keep Mobile. So it's only 3 then, and you could simply say £1,000 to each.
On top of what they had last year.
Ready Bus were only asking for another 825 this year.
Okay, same strategy. Give them their 825, and then we split the remainder across. What is it? Keep Mobile and First Days.
Yeah. Sounds sensible solution. What do you think?
Leave it in the end.
Could you repeat the numbers going down the sheet then? What was
So it looks as if ARC and Citizen both get their 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Ready Bus gets 17,325.
Yeah.
Link gets 1,500.
Yeah.
Wokingham the Volunteer Centre get 500.
Yes.
And the other 2,100 or thereabouts
£2,175, so they would get £1,087.50 each.
£1,087.50 for both Keep Mobile and First Aid Children's Charity on top of what they had last year.
What they had last year.
On top of what they had last year, so
Yes.
there's still, one is getting more than the other, because it's obviously there's a difference in what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The one gets.
So, Keep Mobile would get £2,087.50p. And the First Days, if I'm right, would be £5,087.50p. Unless you want top Rainbow.
1,100.
5,100.
And 2,100. That'd be. Back to the children, yeah.
It'd be lovely if we could give what they wanted, but.
I think because they were both trying to expand their sales. It's not what they wanted, but.
An overall budget of 38,525.
Yeah.
So it's those figures there.
Do we think we need to vote on that, do we?
Yeah.
Can we vote on the whole lot as one rather than individual ones?
That's
The whole unit.
So can I propose that's what we do, yeah? Anything else?
very fair.
Okay.
We have a different question from Deputy Town Clerk. What we discussed just now, is this confidential or not?
No, that discussion was in public session as well.
I think it's the detailed.
It was just, yeah, it was just
information
the detailed information.
I did actually ask the question before the meeting started about whether that should actually be completely in confidence, but apparently it's the document which is in confidence and not.
Good document.
Do you consider the revised estimates?
Yes, that does need voting on as well, Chair. So, need to vote for the revised estimate.
Did that know? That's a good thing.
No.
Oh, okay.
At the end of that report, there are 4 recommendations at the end of the actual report on page 30. And really what we've done is jumped to the 3rd recommendation,
Right.
which also is the 4th recommendation. It's the same.
Here we are. Page 31.
But the second one needs to be
Right, so we need to vote on the revised budget, then it's 38,525, was it?
oh no, this is this
You're voting
year's-
on page 32. Sorry, sticking back, which is appendix A, is the revised estimates in this current.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
And obviously for other committees, there's consideration that we have over here. It's just the same as.
So all those in favour then, please?
Is there just because we've just set what I feel is a good moving target going by, do we need to put a note in to be saying our next year's budget we anticipate would be that plus
Based on that.
RPI, that should almost be a policy of the committee that, or do we think, it feels like we almost put the cart before the horse a bit here.
This committee could propose that as a recommendation to statutory resources to be adopted as a.
But it's set as a, rather than, because I think it would also be good to be open about perhaps that with people that apply to it. Sorry, I've digressed.
No, I think that's fair comment.
I actually think that's preempting what next year, because we've got a totally new council next year. It's preempting.
May not want to do
Yeah,
that.
and people will be discussing at that time as to what should be happening. We're discussing this now when we know what the inflation is, and so I think we probably.
Perhaps we should just explain how we got
The explanation should be less.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure that in the minutes, as I did last year with the ready budget, I'll try and record the fact that obviously the recommendation is really to base it around an indicative 10% increase. And then the reasoning behind the other decisions. And so then it will, hopefully anyone looking back will explain that was the.
What we were thinking.
That could be included in the report.
Yeah, because that was really good, that report. Yeah.
That cover all those four now.
Yes,
Do we
we
need
should be, just check, so look, that's been recommended. Maybe that's, we've done, that's one, yeah, that's one.
Yeah. So move on to item 9, the proposed land transfer to Thames Water at Wangel School. Consider the consultation in relation to proposal by Woking to transfer an area of land within Wangel's boundary to Thames Water. Page 74.
What are they getting?
Does this presumably something to do with water management, is it?
It's before, didn't
So Thames Water want to construct a wastewater pumping station.
I've got no objection to
I think we have concerns about flooding there in the first place. I think it rather feels like it's,
So we have a concern about water flooding off the
yeah, once it's developed, yeah.
false grass.
I think that the committee definitely in my time considered the planning application for the pumping station. What Woking are now doing is consulting on actually not just allowing them to build on that, but to sell that portion of land to Thames Water to avoid any issues.
I think that seems entirely sensible to me. Don't want to be bickering over who owns that place for us to need to fix a pumping station.
So we've got no objection to that. None of it? That's fine. Item 10. Woking Borough Council car parking charges to summarise.
I should probably apologise to the committee before we start talking about this. I was going to write a letter and I didn't do it. My life rather took over, and I will confess, although I think I've probably got a good excuse, it's still, I feel bad for having not done it. I did dig out, and I suspect not many people have managed to check their email before I left, the research period of that letter writing campaign that before my life derailed slightly. Where I did find some data around, I did a freedom of information request to Woking and got some data about car parks, which I thought was quite interesting, and demonstrates the percentage value on a typical month that Woodley contributes to the car parking total income versus every other parish. And it won't surprise anyone to learn that we're the second biggest contributor if you remove the country parks, which I think are probably I could justify removing. I think I would like us to contribute to that consultation. I'm sure we'll individually do it. But I don't think it hurts if the council, now there is a formal consultation, do what I was supposed to do 6 weeks ago and actually write. I don't mind doing that. Yeah.
You can then circulate it, then we can all.
I'll do that this week. Can't
Put 10 pence in, can't we?
exactly. But I mean, yeah, it feels like it's the right time to do it, ironically. So,
Councillor Baker has his hand raised.
Oh, right. Sorry, yes, Keith.
I fully endorse what Richard is saying. Just for information, Richard, the country parks car park charging is in a separate bucket. It's not even in highways. It's in countryside. And so therefore, when you get that data, you did the right thing, is to ignore that completely, because they're not covered by these parking charges increases at all.
yeah.
Okay. The only other thing I was going to just say, and I fully endorse Richard's proposal that we, as a town council, should express an opinion. Obviously, from my perspective, it is concern. But I just wanted to add the latest thing that we hadn't picked up is the impact on our market traders. That in the, and it was there right from day one, and I wish I'd picked it up by then, but our market traders will have to pay £35 to get a permit, and then the parking charge is doubled. It's not clear whether the £35 permit is for a year or for each time the market is, or whatever. Even if it's for a year, market traders are absolutely struggling. You only have to talk to Brian, the town centre manager, and he'll tell you he's struggled, and Jonathan, who's the market manager, they're struggling to get traders to come in, because the traders are suffering significantly financially. So it's another dynamic. So it's the workers for the retail operations, it's the retail operations themselves, it's the nighttime economy, i.e. the hospitality sector, it's the market traders, and it's also residents, all being hit significantly. Cheers.
Can I ask one question? When I looked at the list of car parks that are going to be charged, am I right in saying that there is going to be a charge for Bournemouth Centre?
For what, sorry?
It's just the parking places affected by the order, not by the charges, from what I can work out. Are you referring to that list there?
Yes, I just started wondering whether you're going to start putting parking meters up by Bournemouth Centre.
Yeah, right. Now, these various car parks, like I've got one in my ward in Pitford Close. The rationale that the officers have said is a bit far-fetched, is quote unquote that it will allow them to manage these residents' car parks more effectively. They don't define what they mean by manage, and what it does mean is that it effectively is pulling those in to any potential future charges. I think it would be bonkers to do it, because those are, used by residents, not by the general public. But that's basically to explain they're doing it because they think they can manage those car parks. There's one in Hudson Road, for instance, Pitford Close, etc., etc., and it will allow them an easier route if they were stupid enough to add car parking charges to those areas. I hope that clarifies things, Philip.
Yeah, because I can see the impact it would have to Bournemouth Centre, because people going in there to swim in under the grass, and all of a sudden they're going to pay another fee to park the car, which is potentially non-reimbursable. And there's also, I think, isn't Bournemouth used a lot by people to dropping their kids off so they can?
There is an arrangement with Addington where they're both over school car parks for each other at certain times of the day. But I only know that because I had the nightmare drop off at Addington.
Yes, the last time there was a proposal to change the parking order was a few years ago with the previous administration. And in that instance, this list appeared again. So I think it's probably something about the way the order is put together. But certainly that was the fear before. That proposal to put up charges was then backtracked. There was a U-turn on that. And that's really what's created this issue now, because the parking charges haven't been put up for so long. And then the situation of the budget of Woking Borough, following on from the previous administration, has created this. But I think in terms of those car parks, I think it's more an official thing rather than what they're proposing to do. But it would be good to get confirmation on that. But say that list appeared last time, the previous administration wanted to put the charges up, then it turned.
Perhaps that's something we can pick up.
I wonder if we can pick that up in the letter. I wonder if Matt or Kevin might be able to exercise a professional inquiry on that one, because I did have quite a ding dong with, I don't know, we didn't get on, it's fine, about the traffic order last year, And it was around a lot of those issues, but I think it was clarity that was lacking at that point. I think it'd be nice to have clarity at this point, wouldn't it? Because what we can't have is suddenly those car parks developing a pay and display machine. So in my letter, though, query the order car parks. Usual bits about evening trades, day trade, market traders.
You look at it ultimately, I mean, you've got one charge up to a certain time and the charge changes.
I think it's just
You're going to end up with people going to a restaurant in the centre or going to Vibes dancing or something. You know, they're going to be paying as much almost for their car park as they are to go into Vibes, for example.
I think my argument remains and always has been, if this had been carefully researched and justified, I'd be happy with it. I think there needs to be some car park increase. It hasn't gone up for 5 years, and let's be reasonable. There's inflation at play, and these are tough times. It's whether or not this is the right mechanism to do it. And I think my letter would be querying the research and the mechanism more than the actual charges, because I think I would quite like to keep it apolitical and just say these are the concerns we have around this arrangement. Address and consider these. We would also like a review point put into it. I think we discussed that last time, and if everybody's happy with that, I don't think that's controversial anyway, because I think we need to depoliticize and de-escalate the conversation a little bit. I think it's become an argument more than a debate. I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of it, as I'm sure most other people are. Sorry, I was about to do a chairman thing. It's your chairman. Imagine what's the thing.
Yeah, I just want to request you, you said that it will be a non-political, your statement, when you draft it, kindly include in that all Woodley town councillors who are going to support your letter or statement, they also promise to Woodley residents that if they win Borough Council election, then they will take this decision back.
Yeah,
they will reverse this decision.
I think the point remains. It's a letter of objection rather than any great thing. But I think I just like to say I think you're right. It's
there should be solution.
Only
discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I will.
Sorry, yes, Kate.
Thank you, Chair. And Richard, I absolutely agree with you. We need, as a town council, to keep this apolitical. Unfortunately, Carol strayed slightly over that by blaming the previous administration. I don't think we should, I'm not even going to defend that. We should keep this apolitical, defending the impact on our traders, on the shop workers, on the retailers and our residents, rather than go down. I think absolutely that should be the way.
I'm happy with that, because I think there's time for politics, there's time for us as an entity just to say, hang on, here are our private concerns.
Yeah, that's why I said that we shouldn't only discuss, we should raise an issue or any problem, and then we should also give solution.
Yeah.
And solution is this, that all Woodley town councillors who are supporting your statement, they promise to Woodley residents that if they are in power next time, they will reverse that decision.
They can't.
Sure,
Town council can't.
No, I'm saying all Woodley town councillors, if they are in Borough Council, or they will exercise their influence and they will reverse this decision if they are against it.
I think that would be for individuals, but I'll tell you what, I'll draft up what I've got. We'll all have a look at it and bounce some opinions. I will be able to do that on Thursday.
Okay.
I have a day off on Thursday. I was going to take my Vespa apart, but I'll do that instead.
Okay.
Chair, can I just have just finally on what Majid is talking about? You know, we're talking about three major political parties: Labour, Conservative and Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats will not commit to reversing it. The Labour will not commit to reversing it. The Conservative group already has. So I personally think that should not be included in your draft letter, Richard, because I think it opens up that can of worms of being political. You know, I don't see how.
You're right. I mean, it's going to be for us to make those statements individually. I think that's actually the thing, isn't it? It's from the committee, but it's not, I would like to think, yeah, one might have a different political opinion at a borough level to a town level, if that makes sense. We've seen it before, we'll see it again. We saw it the last time a traffic regulation order came along. Let me draft it and we can all have a look at it and have our tuppence worth, but it will be business rather than.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Keith Baker has declared just now, and I hopefully it's recorded in YouTube as well. That, yes, that he will take this decision back, he has just said, and previously in Borough Council meetings, it was not said. That this question was asked many times and his party point of view was entirely different in Borough Council. But I'm quite happy that he has said this just now.
Mr. Chair, I've got to run out the door in about 3 minutes, if that's all right.
You did tell me in advance.
Yeah. Actually, we're about to move on to Speedwatch, aren't we? So
yes,
I think if you're all right, I will disappear. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for a great pack this week. I'll be able to hear the oncoming traffic.
Behind you.
Collect and recycle it.
right, okay. Community Speedwatch, well, there's nothing more to add other than the comments that David Bragg made, which I think I read out at the last meeting. So I don't know if he's had a chance to speak to PC Turbo. I don't suppose if he's been back since the holiday.
He hasn't. I did speak to him briefly today to
right.
Councillor Bragg, and he hadn't been able to get hold of him. So the situation is as it was.
No, unchanged. Okay. As far as item 12, the early station footbridge is concerned, we're still waiting for Woking to come to some decision. Depends how deep their pockets are, I guess. This is another case of British Rail not wanting to put any money in, the same as the bridge we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? That will only be, what, £1 million out of it, probably going to be 8 or 9 million by the time.
Has the heat had his hand raised?
Sorry, Alex, yes?
Yeah, I thought so. Somebody suggested that Wokingham had made the decision, and it was that they couldn't afford the 8 million or whatever, and they were going to carry out repairs to the existing structure. If that is the case, then please let them do it ASAP. If we're not going to replace it, we certainly need to do these works now. If you looked at it recently, but the exposed metal work and everything, they need to get on with it yesterday, frankly.
The last letter we had was just before Christmas when they hadn't made a decision.
Yes, I think Councillor Baker had made the comment that a decision had been made at the last planning meeting. And were asked to then ask directly of Wokingham that they'd made that decision. They responded to say that they hadn't made any decision yet. So that was their official line to us.
Can we follow that up again? You know, that's recently, but look at that bridge, it's dying.
Yeah, and dropping, and part of the note was to ask them to keep us informed continually, rather than us having to keep going back a bit by the. Thank you.
Councillor Baker has his hand raised. Check.
Sorry. Yes. Please.
Yeah, I was just going to read out. This was from the 21st to the 12th. Our shadow member for exec member for Highways had a meeting with Highways, and looking at his notes say, looking at repairing the bridge, £7 million cost line in the budget is being removed. bridge being surveyed to identify best way forward. It looks like repairs to ramps are the way forward.
We want confirmation of that really, don't we?
Yes.
I can include that reference in the next chase.
It's one of the concerns, I think, was that the work close to the gas main may actually be a concern for SSE, because I think they were concerned about the type of work that you're going to be doing on the bridge anyway. If it's major work, it could be too close to the gas main for them to allow it to happen. I don't know. I mean, this is all hypothetical, of course, until you actually tell them what you're going to do. They'd probably just keep saying no, wouldn't they?
Councillor Heath has a hand raised.
Alex, yes.
Yeah, it's just you look at the bridge, they need to work on the uprights, the ramps, and definitely the railings. The railings are braced in places by wooden beams. So no, they need to look at the whole bridge.
Well, there's matting in place now over most of it, I think, to catch any debris from falling onto the cars or the trains below. So,
But this is the railings on the sides, you know, that stop you falling off. That they are in several places they are braced with wooden beams.
Wooden planks, yes, I know. I've seen.
And you can also rattle a few, you know, as you go. Most of them are firm, but a few rattle. So they need to look at the whole bridge.
Yeah. It's probably force economy to repair it, but I don't know what the alternative is. Okay. Move on to item 13 then, community issues. Anything to discuss? Okay. Any highways issues apart from what we've just been discussing? No? Notice some rather large potholes here and there which have developed because of the cold weather we've had. So I don't know whether or not there's one along the right side on the golf course, the road that goes over the bridge. Nasty pothole there, but okay. Item 15, you should have had the ME2 newsletter, 2 of those, November and December, and the CCB bulletin, also December. So if you've not had those, can you just drop Matthew a note to say you've got in your spam box or something? Can you please have a copy? Any items for the future agenda, please? No? Okay. Anything for the website? Publicity? No? No? Item 18 then is enforcement on pages 44 and 45. So notifications, 44 Nightingale Road, a building in the rear garden without planning permission. 83A Loddon Road, refused clued application, CLUED.
What is that?
What is that?
That must have been, I don't know.
You can
I
make
think
something.
it's a certificate for lawful use.
Yeah.
I think it's that. I think it's related to that.
And 44 Nightingale, again, potential damage to trees which form part of the tree protection order. So then things that they have closed, 12 Grays Crescent, extended porch structure at the front of the building onto council land, other, passed on to Reading Borough Councillors, front porch encroached onto RBC. Woodley Tennis Club, Silver Fox Crescent, works to tennis court without planning permission, refused app, no breach. Okay. 22 Kingfisher Drive, gates to the primary property that open outwards onto the highway, no breach. That concludes the agenda. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Right, Kate.